Okay.
So using a recycler view, so I have this view here, and I have my button somewhere way under the screen. That's weird.
Okay.
Why is it under the screen? Touch a button. Okay. Okay, so I have just one button on the screen, and I want to use a recycler view. So
All right.
Android has kind of like made some views very smart. Before I even go into the code at all, let's give some form of background because some people reach out to me and were asking me, what is a recycler view? What is it
Okay.
at all? So a recycler view is a view or is a view group that houses virtual views via something called an adapter. So houses other views where virtual means okay, you have several views, but your screen can only take a few.
Okay.
So all the views possible, let's say your adapter is holding 500 items. That's what the adapter is holding. The recycler view has access to the 500, but can only show a few at a time. So the adapter keeps reference to every other thing. Now, to
Okay.
effectively use a recycler view in your project, you need to set up an adapter.
Okay.
And when you're setting up an adapter in itself requires something called a view holder.
Yeah.
Now, a view holder, in essence, is that particular view we're talking about. You said a recycler view houses virtual views. So what holds every view in your recycler view is a view holder. And that view
Mm.
holder is responsible for displaying or allowing views. We've added, I don't know how did the setup for this call. I have to admit everybody manually. Uh, so that view holder is responsible for inflating each view in your recycler view. So what the adapter is doing is saying, this is what I want this view holder that we've just created this is what I want you to display. Now, as you are laying out views inside the recycler view, it will keep creating new view holders until your screen is filled up. At that point, it won't create new view holders. The data
Okay.
models are still in your adapter. Now, when you begin to scroll, there's a demand for more views. So what happens is your adapter goes back to the stack
Okay.
and say, okay, which of the view holders that we've created is not showing currently? At that point, it's called a recycle. So it's sitting, it's not being destroyed, but it's somewhere in your cache. When the scroll now moves maybe to the top, like I'm scrolling now, I'm trying to scroll. When I try to scroll up, and then at that point, something needs to show at the bottom when I still have content. One of those views that scrolled out through the top will be returned back to the bottom and supplied new data, not the same old data it was holding at the top.
I get. So it's like circular.
Yeah, and that process continues whether you're scrolling up or you're scrolling down.
Yeah.
So that's the brain behind the name of recycle. So your views are being
Oh.
recycled.
Okay. True. All right. Cool.
Now, a recycler view requires something to tell it how to lay out your views. That's where a layout manager comes in. Now, that layout
Mm.
manager tells it how to order each view that it will create, whether it should stack them vertically in a
Oh,
list
horizontally.
or stack them horizontally in a list, or create a grid. And
Okay.
the grid should be how many columns wide if it's vertical, or how many rows wide if it's horizontal. And then you can have a third option, which is a staggered grid. So it's more like a grid, but with a grid, your views are of equal sizes. Size here means the height and the width are the same for all views. With a
Okay.
staggered grid view, grid layout manager, you have access to creating uneven views. The views are not the same. Some are longer, some are shorter, and they are arranged kind of randomly. And then people have gone ahead to try to create their own layout managers. There's a new one called the Flexbox Layout Manager that allows you to be able to allow views flow and wrap by itself. But that's for as you guys get to like progress in your journey or your Android journey, you get to experience more layout manager types. So that's the job of the layout manager. Inform the recycler view. This is how the user wants the views to be laid out, and it handles the laying out of the views. So when your view is to be inflated, the layout manager is called. At that first
Right.
time, it's creating a view holder. So do you have any questions as to what the several components of creating this is or are?
No,
Okay, so
no, you can go
so
ahead.
the last one now is the data model. Now, when you create an adapter, it expects to see how many items you want it to hold or display. And we'll get to see that in code when we start. Because you need to tell it how many exactly is going to be handling. So the data model that you're passing will have to be in an array format. Uh, so either an array or a list of items of the same type. That's your data model. But the recycler view in itself is able to have several view types. What do you mean by view type? Your view holder inflates a layout. What if I have another type of layout and I want to use the same recycler view? Then I'll need to create another view holder for that view type. And that's where view types come in. You have several view holders on the same recycler view, inflating different layouts. But the data source has to be the same. So you can't have bio item, data item. No, it has to be one kind of data. But the view that is displaying it can be different on the same recycler view. I don't know if you understand that.
Please, can you come back again with that?
So I'm trying to
Uh,
explain
can we
data.
have
Data.
samples?
I'm trying to think of
Where
an app that does that. Yeah, so if you go into your WhatsApp, I believe most of us use WhatsApp. In your chat view, where you have your messages with whoever you're chatting with, you get to see maybe today, this is what happened, or one unread message, two unread messages yesterday at this point. The view
yeah.
itself is a recycler view. The the view types that we have there is an image is a view type. The generic text is a view type. That date is a view type. The alert for your new messages is a view type. So a single recycler view having different view types. So that's the idea about view types. You can see that the way those things are made are different, but they are all still in the same recycler view. Code Hunter,
Like all categorized in different
I'm coming. Code
out
Hunter,
in
you're
different
raising your hand. Do you want to say something?
I wanted to ask, which means if you said a recycler view has different views in it,
Yeah.
does that mean that from your XML file,
So that means you have different XML
your
files.
that button you have there supposed to be within
Okay.
the recycler view?
No. Okay, we'll get to how the
That's what I'm asking. Each views will come under.
Or can we say each
Okay.
of the lists has different views within it?
so what we are saying is each item that is a different view type will have its layout. So not
Separate.
just all of them in this single layout file. No. If I want a different view type, I'll create a layout file for that view type and create its own view
Okay.
holder. If I want another view type, I'll create its own layout file, create its own view holder.
Okay.
So it's not just about a single button in an entire view. No, it will be its own layout file. I don't know why accepting this person is always hard.
Yeah, someone is trying to get in and is having issues. Maybe
Yeah,
that's the
it's in
problem.
already.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's for view types. Now for data that I was explaining, that data item will remain the same. Now with Kotlin, like I explained in the last class with sealed classes, it's now possible to have a recycler views, that's the topic. It's now possible to have a data item that looks like it's a single data item, but can be interpreted differently. So to use the same WhatsApp example to explain, if we're going to use cell classes for what I just explained about the dates, the unread messages, then I'll have a data model. Let me create something for that. New Kotlin class data model. So here I will do a cell class data model. And in this cell class, we'll get to that. This cell class, I can have my data classes that says time model. Well, let's say time as a date object, and this returns data model. Data new message. Sorry, I have no idea what I did.
Mhm.
New message val, let's see, view, and it's supposed to be a string, and it's all data model. Then I have a third one that is messages, and towards message that can be of type any, maybe whatever format WhatsApp decided to use. Now, if I use this class as my data class for my recycler view, I can now check what data is it bringing in at every point in time, and use that model to now populate the view of that type. So let's say when it's a time that displays maybe today's date or yesterday's date, whenever I see time model, I will inflate the view holder for time and then pass the time into that view. When it's unread messages, I'll just bring up that view for unread messages, inflate it, and put in the value. When it's a normal message, I'll bring up the view that houses normal message, inflate it, and put the values inside. So we can see that the data model is still kind of one, but the view types can change. Anybody have any question at this point? At Michael, can you hear us? Okay, that's fine. Doesn't need you to use that to explain how different view types and a single data model will work. So first things first.
Sorry, I have a quick question.
Okay.
So all this your classes and files that you created, you're putting all of them in the main activity, right?
Which ones?
Like the this one that I just created, what's the name again?
Data model.
Yeah, once you're done.
No, data model is not tied to any view. It can be used anywhere you want to use it. It's not going to be restricted to just one place. No.
So I don't need to link it up anywhere else.
You will link it. That's the idea. You can call it any way you want to use it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so first thing is we'll go to where we want to put the view. It can be an activity class, it can be a fragment, it can be wherever you want to put it. So we'll put it in first. Since we're dealing with two views. Aha. Let me not use fragments. And please, if you will, don't use fragments. I'll explain why. For fragment navigations and usage of fragments, it is a bit more tricky than how you use your activities and how you navigate from one activity to the other. The flow is a bit different. Someone asked what SEAL classes are. So SEAL classes in Kotlin are what we'll call, I don't know if anybody has heard of a data type called enum.
Called
Enum. Let me type it in chat.
think I have something like that, really.
ENUM.
oh yes, yeah, yes.
You've heard of enums.
Yes, yes, I had that in Java too.
Okay, so the idea of enum is
no.
the same
My
everywhere.
microphone is on.
So, like in every language, what they try to do is you're trying to use use them for default values for some things or hold some form of value for comparison. It might be days of the week, reference, more like a reference to use. So think of SEAL classes in Kotlin as enum with superpowers. They're basically like enums because we could see that the whole different types will show as the same object outside. So another superpower that I'll be introducing everybody to, because some people avoiding to use them. There's a limit to what I can teach or what I can say. Because a lot of it you have to figure out on your own. So let me find my browser. Yeah. This right here is every developer's superpower. You have to know how to use it. You have to know how to put your questions in here and get solutions. This afternoon, someone asked me, what is a recycler view? It's a common question. Type it there. You'll find a lot of resources in the first four mostly. Your question will be answered at that point. And questions like that, what is a recycler view? Someone is saying he can't hear anything. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Google is embarrassing me, or I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, we'll fix that. The frustrating nature of searches. But like I said on the group, if you feel like if you've gone through your problem and you've narrowed it down to the main pain points, it's easier to search for that and get a result. But if you have something that is very vague, like what is a recycler view? It's too broad as a question. Recycler view itself has a documentation. So if you're looking for a view in Android and you want to understand how it is used, let's use the recycler view for instance. Do this and put Android at the end of it. The first option that will come is developer.android.com. You can never really go wrong with this option here. If you click that, well, that is embarrassing. You can be looking at. So official documentation can only be jargon if you are trying to use it to solve a problem. If you want to use it to learn about a view type, it is very, very informative. You can learn a lot from just reading it. I still come back here most times to just come and just be reading and reading and reading and reading. This chat is becoming distracting, you know.
It's seriously distracting.
Can we just dial it down a bit? So if you read it, you get to understand what a recycler view itself is. Who asked me that question? If you come here, you see it here. This is the definition. And you can go down to read more on how it works and even go down to the details of how everything works. And if you want to use this, the dependency you need to add if you want to. But with Android X, you don't need to add dependencies for recycler view or card view. All those are inside your app compact. Sorry, what's the name of that now? Core KTX, yeah. Inside your core KTX, a lot are embedded inside. And even your app compact, yes, they're all inside. You don't need to add them like individually. The only one that you get to add yourself is a constraint layout, or when you want to use material design views, like what you guys use around when you create a basic activity. A lot of things there use material design. Things like that round button you see at the bottom of the first page, the container that is holding everything in that page. They're all material design views. So if you've learned enough and you want to try out material design, you can pick up that dependency and add to your project and leverage the views that it has. So anybody can just come here and come and read. You get to see everything that you can want to know about recycler views, how to set them up by yourself if you want to, how to customize it, how to play around with almost everything. Things that I won't even teach you in this class. You get to see them here. And for, I think is UG1 that prefers Java, you can switch to Java or stay on Kotlin. Both, both are here. And if you want to see it in an app, they give you a resource that shows you an app where that particular view is used, and you can go and see it there. So let's try to write code, make mistakes if we can, and then see if Google can help us solve. Yeah, it's the documentation for Recyclerview by Google. Okay, so back here, I said we'll be using activities. So we'll reactivate main activity. And then there's another question as to when I said setting a view as your default view. If you have more than one activity here, you'll find an intent filter that says main and launcher. Any activity that holds this is the activity that gets launched when your app is, when you open your app, that's the activity that comes up. So whichever activity is holding this is your launcher. So once you open it, that's the activity that starts up. So we don't want it to be this recycler view fragment again, activity again. So let's move it back to main activity. And doing this, then main activity becomes our launcher activity. So once we open the app, it's main activity that will be launched. Once that is done, we want to now add recycler view to the content of this view. And it's the only thing that is going to be relevant here. So I can remove everything I have. Wow. Can remove everything I have here. And convert this to a recycler view. So once I've created my recycler view, the next thing I will do is to say, okay, at this point I have a recycler view, but we've talked about all the views you need to actually use a recycler view. Then I'll start creating them one after the other. The first thing I will create is the layout. I always go back to the chart is, so if anybody is saying is left behind, I will encourage, oh, okay. I have one before, so I'm deleting that. Yeah, so create a new layout resource and say sample list item. So in my sample list item, it is going to be a list. Now, okay, before I explain that, let's try it this way. What do I want to have? No. Two text views and one image view. So a text view basically is a view that holds a text. That's the generic thing is meant to do. An image view holds image, and that's all. But with time, you get to learn that with text views, they just don't hold text. They can hold other things, but for now, they just hold text, and that's all. Um, Image view first. I'll do this both in the code view like this, and I'll go back to design and do the same thing. So you know how to go both ways if you need to. I want it to be large enough to be visible. And I want it to be at the start of the parent. I also want it to be bottom of the parent and also the top of the parent. So I want to give it an ID, item image. And then, like we explained in the first class, if I want to see something in that view, I will tell it to help me put an image in it. Put image. To get an image from sample, just tell it to put avatar in it. It will give you an image. Then my first text view, I want it to wrap its content, wrap its content. Now see item name. But I want this to be at the end of the image view. So I'll say start to end of item image. I want it to align its top to the top of item image. Okay. Then my second text view, wrap content 2 and wrap content. So I want to apply a margin so that they don't just stick together. So margin start for this should be of value now, 12 dp. With time, you get to understand how you decide what value makes sense. After you've designed a few layouts, things will begin to make sense as to what is too large or what is too small. But for now, just try to follow along. This then this should align to the start of item name, and then it stopped to the bottom of item name. And it's bottom to the bottom of item image. So what do we have here? Oh wow, I thought I added 96 here. So like I did for the image view by adding a tool value or development value to it. I'll do the same thing here and tell it to use full names. And then let's say this is ID item address. So I'll say tools, text, cities. So if you're wondering what tools is or what is used for, I explained in the first class that when you use tools, it helps you visualize what your content will look like. These values will not show in your app. If you run it, it will just be empty, completely empty. There's nothing in it. Yeah, so then text size, I want this to be a different size. And I explained use SP for text size values and DP for margin padding or view sizing. Text color, I want this to be black. I want this to be 12 SP, and the text color should be gray. Okay. So we've seen what it looks like in the design. Let's go back and use God in heaven. For everyone that disconnects and tries to reconnect back, I have to do this. Wow. So what I'll do is comment everything here out. And try to achieve it from here. So drag and drop. Okay, so pick a resource. I don't want to pick any resource right now. This, no. I don't want a resource now. Okay, sample avatar. Yeah, so this is here. I said bottom and this to the parent. Yeah, so this is what we want it to be. Now the text view. We want the top to be to the top of this and the start to be to the start of this. I want that start margin to have 12. Then I want another text view. And I want it start to be to the start of this, and then this. So we created, this person's network, this one. We're almost done with the recreation. And what do we want to do here? We want to set a few attributes. So these are all the attributes you can decide to come and play around with. You can just, what do I want? I want black. Where's black? This should be total black. text size 14. And then this view, I want the text size to be 12. And then the color was darker gray here. This is dark enough. And then if we go back to this, the same thing was added, or close to the same thing. I don't like these IDs that it gave me. And if you don't like the IDs, just find ID here. This for which view now? You need to be sure. Replace it with what you want. Item image. This, yes. And here, item name. Item address. And then there's a font end. It's even showing what each one means if you keep the hover on it for long enough. It tells you exactly what you will get when you use it. So we've seen the design. Either way you want to go about it. If you want to use the design view, or if you want to write it yourself in XML, either way works fine. Whatever you get comfortable with is fine. So after I've done this, Android gives us the same tool that we used to display text, display image. We can use it to join now. We can use it to show what, or have an idea of what our recycler view will be like when it's loaded. And I'll just do at layout and the name of that layout. So if I check out what the design looks like now, you can see that I have just one item and it's supposed to be a recycler view. It's supposed to hold several views. Why is it holding just one? And we can see this get worse if I tell it to set item count to 8. I'm saying 8, which means it's supposed to have 8 items, but I'm saying only 1. That's because there's an error in our view for a list, by the way, not for everything. For a list, your list item should not match parents. The height should not match parents. The width here should match parents if you're sure you're displaying them vertically. If you are displaying them horizontally, then your height can match the parents, but your width should not match parents. Depends on the direction. So here we'll tell it to wrap its content. And if you do that and come back here, you get to see all the items. And mind you, if we didn't check it out like this, the way it showed at first, that's how it's going to show if you build. Even if you have 10 items, you just see that there's only one item on your screen per time because you made the list item or the layout for the list item to match its parents. So you try to take every available space on the parents. And then there's this thing, okay, yeah. Can this person unmute his or herself and tell us what he means by go back? Go back to what point?
Hi, sorry, I didn't see when you added to make the. See that.
Make the what? Hello?
Hello, I said I didn't see the part when you populated the list, the 8 with the tools.
Okay, so this is it. This one puts the mock layout you want to use to check. Then this one tells it
Okay.
how many items it should model. I can reduce it to 2 and it will bring only 2. I can tell it 5
Okay.
and it will do 5. But this doesn't mean your recycler view is limited to 5 items. This is just showing me how 5 items will look like.
Okay. Good,
Now,
thank you.
yeah. Now there's something else. They're kind of like hugging each other. And if you're not okay with that, you can tell the parent view to have a margin around it. Normally I use between 4 and 8 dp, depending on the design. And then there's now that space everywhere. And then you can decide to play around with this till you get your desired result. So after we're done with seeing how it will look like here, play around with the number of items we want here, next thing we need to do is, like we said, create an adapter class. So sample recycler adapter. Type is class. Now, we keep on saying adapter class, adapter class. There are a few things this adapter class needs to comply with or to be able to be used by our recycler view. Please, if it's just one word or something you want to say, just unmute yourself and say it. How did I create the sample list item? I just came
Sorry,
to.
I just want to ask you, how did you create that sample list item.xml?
Yeah, so I came to layout, right click, go to new and layout resource. So if you're in the right directory, if I want a drawable, if I right click on drawable and go to new, the default options here will be related to drawable because that's where I'm checking from. So Android smartly wants to tell you that, okay, I know where you are. Is this what you want? If I come to a Java directory, resource files will not be my first options. Classes will be my first options. When I was here, I had a class and the next thing was layout. I came to drawable and the next thing was drawable. I go to make map and the next thing is another directory. It doesn't give me an idea of what it understands I want to do here. Let me see if it knows navigation resource. So it will give you smartly what it feels you want to do, depending on the directory you use to right click. So what I was saying here, this has to extend another class. And that class has to be from the Recyclerview package, the subtype adapter. Now, this adapter is modeled here to accept a view holder. So whatever you are passing in that place must extend a view holder. So we'll get to that. Now, whenever you extend from a view like this, if that view requires that you have to override some methods, your class will immediately show you a red line. So that red line is saying, this guy here requires something that you've not given it. And if you don't do it, you can't use your class. Then also, if you have something like this here or inside, once you add a bracket like this and you see another red line on one side of the bracket or this square, yeah, I think was that. And is it elbow? Yeah. This greater than and less than. They call them elbow brackets or something. To unshield that red line, it means it's expecting something and it's not seeing it. The type is expected. So on your system, with your cursor in the middle like this, if you do Control P on most views, it will tell you what it's expecting. Now, this is telling me it doesn't require a parameter, but if it did, it just said if it's, yeah, angle brackets. Thank you. So here, like we saw when we went here, it didn't show us what it is, just saying type expected. This expects that we pass a view, another view type that extends from a view holder. That means we need to create a view holder. Now, there's a bad habit or is allowed. There's no rule against it. You can do it anyhow you want. You can either put your view holder in this class by coming here and telling it that you are declaring an inner class and name it view holder. This is one way to go about it. Or you create an entirely new file and call it, let's say, sample view holder. Both ways are fine. Whichever you decide to do is fine. So this will be a class view holder. And since you said whatever class you're bringing has to extend view holder. Now that view holder we're talking about is inside the Recyclerview view group. So you see it here as an option, view holder. Now, view holder is telling us, is expecting us to pass in a view that we want it to hold. So that means your class must have a constructor value that is of type view. When I say view, there's a type called view, and this is it here, 100 view. Now, this value here will now be passed here as a parameter. Once you pass it, your red line disappears. Now, in this class, a lot of you went around using this option, creating a value, item, image, and you did equals view dot find item view dot find view by ID, and then you now tell it is an image view. Okay. So you're telling it is an image view, and you pass the ID of the view you want it to go and pick. r.id.item image. Now, if you do this, it is fine. But this is a bad habit that developers that start with Java. It's not bad in Java. It's actually the way to go in Java. But in Kotlin, it's more of a bad habit. Kotlin is saying, I can do this way smarter than what you're trying to do. Why don't you try to use the superpowers I have? Okay, what's the superpower that Kotlin allows us to do here? Kotlin is saying you can call item view, but that has to be in a function. So effectively, we'll create a function, bind. Now this bind, I like this, but let me use this. You can say item view dot item image, and directly you get the image view. You don't need to start calling and declaring another variable to put your image view inside. You get access to it directly if you go this way. Now, image, I can do item view dot item name. Item view dot item address. Now we can see that we have 3 views here, and we need to put values in the 3. That takes us to us creating a model. I can see a lot of errors that we have here, but we'll fix them as we're going. So I want us to go from the inside out. So fix the issues inside before we go back out to fix issues. Just admitted you right now. And again, the same person. I will be sure to not make that mistake again when creating a class. So another Kotlin class, sample data. And like I said, if all you want your class to hold is data, then make it a data class. Wow. Now, when you make it a data class, then you need to pass the parameters that a data class will be holding or the values you want it to be holding. What do you want it to hold? Val. I believe we still remember what val and var are used for, Abi. Hello?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So val, item name, val,
I don't know, please remind me.
item image, this is supposed to be of type string. This one will be using IDs, so it will be of type int or integer. Your IDs are stored in integer values. Then the last one is item address. Is also a string. Okay. And that's all for your model.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, please remind me what val and val is for.
So when you're declaring variables in your project for Kotlin, when you declare a variable as a val, that means once you set a value to it, you cannot alter that value again. That's the only value it can hold. When you set it as var, that means the value for the variable can change. You can play around with the value.
Okay.
So that's the difference between the two of them.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going back to the view holder class. Now in our function, we'll pass an item that is of type sample data. Since we know we created this to have only 3 items because we know our view holder or our view that we're trying to use or reuse in our recycler view has only 3 views. If we had 10 things that we want to do, then our model should be able to give us the data for the 10 things if each of them requires data. I don't know if anyone understood what I just said.
Please repeat.
I said we have just 3 items here because currently our view or our layout has 3 views. And we want each of them to use a different data set.
Okay.
So that's why we have 3. Imagine maybe you have 10 views in your layout, but those views data can be set to them using maybe 7 data items from your model. Then this model item needs to have the 7 items required to populate the 10 views. Is that fine?
It's confusing.
Okay, I have a view.
So are you saying in essence
Please, I hope video will not take long before it's uploaded to YouTube. So I'm so
Hello,
lost.
Abdul.
Yeah,
Hello.
I can
Hello,
hear you.
Abdul.
I can hear you.
So, depending the item, yeah, what you're saying in essence, from our layout design,
Our
that's
layout
the
design here.
layout design, what we had.
Yes.
Because items, image view, and text.
We can't hear you, but let me
Is it
pick up.
because we have two text view? That is why in the data class.
Okay, so let me use that idea to explain. So for everyone that can hear me, we have 3 views in our layout, and we need to put data in each of them for us to see anything when we build this recycler view. Now, we now created a model that can take a value for the image, can take a value for the name, and can take a value for the address. So that when we come to populating this layout, we have values we can set in every view. So I'm now saying, depending on what you are trying to create yourself, if you have more views, then you have to update your sample data or whatever model data class you're creating, whatever you're calling that class. You have to make it be able to populate all the views that you have.
Okay.
Do we get it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's clear now.
Yeah, so we now go back here. Now, we'll get to see how the data gets to the bind function. But we know at this point that bind will be given the data to use for every view. Now, to set text for a text view, we just call the text. I'll put the value we want to put, item.name. Address, the same thing, text. I'll put item.address. Now, for the image, we'll call set image resource. That's the first option so that comes up for an image view. I will click OK. I will pass item image. So we're done with this class. Then we'll go back to our adapter class.
Sorry, please, Abdul. Sorry, please. Please, kindly go back to that view holder, the sample view holder class again.
Yeah, we're back to it.
So the item, okay, now, item that we picked was, can we just give it any name?
Yes, this name here, anything,
okay, anything
here you can name it anything you want. There's no restriction to names.
Okay.
You can give it any name.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So,
all right.
As I was saying, I like to use the equal to instead of these brackets because it saves you a few keystrokes. Let me return this. How do I mean it saves you a keystroke? We use an operator called with, and the with takes in item view. And when that happens, I can further go down and remove this. Because already when I call with gives me whatever I pass in here. So I can use things that I can access whenever I call this individually. So instead of having to do item view dot at every time, imagine I have 10 views. I'll do item view for each of the 10. But going this way, I can decide to not call whatever my view here is called and just move on to doing whatever I want to do, and I will still get access to all the views.
Okay.
So here, since this guy here he told us that me I need a view holder to work with, so we'll give it the view holder, and then his own error is cleared. Now let's focus on the bigger matter here. The bigger matter here is saying, okay, you're saying you want an adapter, but you're not giving me what I need to be able to be an adapter. So we'll come here, and a lot of people have messaged me. I'll keep telling them, use this ribbon. Now, that might be misleading to some point. When you use this ribbon, in some places, it will suggest best on what it feels will solve your problem. That doesn't mean it will solve your problem. So when you check it here, let's see in the documentation whether we'll find anything that helps us. Okay. No. Nothing is straightforward for.
Please, how do you access this documentation now, please?
Whenever you click on any class, Command or Control on your keyboard and click to take you to the definition of that class. And you can use it for your own classes and classes that were not written by you. Okay. You can use it here to go to the definition here. Whether it's your own class or not, it should take you there unless the person closed the class, then you won't see anything. So this here can help us because it's a basic.
So repeat what you just said. Control what takes you to the
control and click, your left click or your normal click, not the one that shows options.
Okay.
So when you click on the ribbon, it shows you what you need to do. So why this is straightforward is we extended the class and we share a red line. So this ribbon is the easiest way to know how to solve that red line issue for this use case. So click it, it's telling us for that red line to go, we need to have these three functions. So you can just do shift and click on the last item. It will highlight all of them and tell it okay. It will add them to your project. Now, if you don't remove these functions sometimes, they can crash your app because this will not show a warning because you told it you will do it. When you run your project and it gets to the point where it needs to use this thing and you didn't do it, your app will crash. So always check where you have these to-dos and be sure that you do what is needed in a function or a class or whatever definition that you added it. Be sure you do what you said you will do there and clear the to-do. So now we've talked about the layout file, the adapter, models. We need to now talk about how they all come together to give us a recycler view. So we said it that whenever a view is called from the adapter, it will call your view holder. And now when it calls that view holder, the first few views that it will create, it will call this function and then call this function. Now when it has created like maybe the number of views that can take up your screen, it will stop calling this function and it will keep calling this with your new data. So we need to tell it what to create or how to create the first views that it will create. And that's where we now tell your recycler view what layout file you should play around it. Because up until now, the layout doesn't know, sorry, your recycler view doesn't know what layout. Even if we might argue that maybe we have told it here what views you want to set. Yes, you've told the view holder, but the recycler view adapter doesn't know what view, which means your recycler view doesn't know. So here now, it's a bit tricky. So I will start out slow, then we'll optimize. We'll say val, because we know that value will not change. View is equal to, when you want to inflate a layout, programmatically like this, or using this method here, you need to call an inflator, or is it an inflator? So we'll call layout inflator, and you tell it this requires a context. And like I explained, context is like a scope. So we're saying the scope we want to use for this layout inflator is the scope of wherever the recycler view, this adapter is. That scope is what we want to use. How do we get that scope? We'll call parents, and we'll call context on parents. So if this recycler view, the recycler view that will use this adapter is in an activity, it will give us the context of that activity here. If it's in a fragment, it will give us the context of the fragment here. Now, once we have that, we can now do the actual inflation. This inflates takes in the ID of your layout file, which is sample. Okay, let's see how it goes. I can't say yes, but let's see how it goes. So we're still seeing a red line. That means we've not satisfied the conditions to inflate a layout. So you can come here and hover on the red line to show you what options you have. So currently we have the layout ID. We need to pass a view group. So, and the view group here, if you see in this class itself, you can see a view group item. So just pass that. And at this point, you are fine. But there's one more option I like to add, which is this. This is you're telling it whether it should attach this view that it's creating to the parents. And we're saying, no, don't attach it to the parents. It's more like an encouraged practice to add that. Now, we're still having an issue, a red line here. Return expression is required from this. And we said this function is to return sample view holder. So we need to create sample view holder here by calling sample view holder. So we'll say val holder equals sample view holder. And we remember that in sample view holder, we told it to expect a view. So we'll pass in our view at this point. And then lastly, we call return, return holder. Now immediately Kotlin is telling us, okay, why are you declaring it just to return it? Why not just return it directly? So this is one. So the next thing is, if the only thing this value is doing is holding this and passing it here, why not just move this entire thing here and place it here, then remove this. And then if the entirety of this function is just returning this, why not just say equals and remove return and remove this. That's still fine. Now, the next line here is where I said you need to tell your adapter how many items it should be playing with. So this is telling you, give me the number of items. Now, this is where passing data into the adapter comes in. We need to pass data here. And our data, and just name it items, should be of the type that our view holder expects. So I'm saying a list of sample data. Did you get the explanation for the value I'm putting here?
No, come again.
So your recycler view needs to know how many items it will be playing with, and needs to know how to bind every item here.
Okay.
So those items needs to be passed either at the point of creation, where you are creating your adapter instance, or you can pass it into your adapter at some other point whenever you want to. But for now, let's keep it as you have to pass it when you are creating your adapter. So that means it will be a constructor parameter. Anything here, when you are creating your class like this, is called a constructor parameter. So your constructor requires it to be able to create that class. So where we want to use that is here. So how do we tell it the number of items? It's a list. We can get the number of items in a list by calling size. This gives you the number of items in that list. If there are 10,000 items, items.size will return 10,000. If there are 2 items, item.size will return 2. If there's nothing in it, it will return 0.
Okay.
Hello, Abdul, please.
Yeah.
That means if we didn't pass any information in the constructor at the get item count, we can just return the item.size.
No. At this point here, you have to pass something here. For our use case, you have to pass something here. Now, if we decide to remove that, I'm coming. If we decide to remove this, that means we have to tell this that you don't have an item. And if we do that, then there's no essence of creating a recyclerview adapter since it's holding no content. Do you understand?
I'm finding it difficult to understand.
Okay, so what is the difficulty? We're here. Believe I added this line and that's where the confusion came from.
No, there were opening braces before in the get item count.
Okay. So this.
So what I'm trying to say, yes.
Pause for a bit and start over. We can't hear you.
Dot size.
Yes.
Constructor parameter. We're not adding constructor to the sample recycler. Are you with me?
We didn't get you. Or I didn't get you actually. Your network was breaking. Your network is still breaking.
Okay.
Maybe you should just type it. We'll read it out.
Network is
the value we are adding to the constructor.
Can you please type it out? We can't hear you. Ikechi. If you can't, just type it out. We can't hear you. Should we move on or are you typing it?
I'm typing.
Okay. Does anyone else have like a question at this point? Fatai, you can unmute and talk. This Kobe, you can unmute and talk.
Abdul,
Yeah,
Hello, can you hear
yeah,
me?
yeah.
I did
All right.
what I
Uh,
did was
I think we should
that
wait for each other. I think Fatai, go first.
okay.
All right. Yeah. While I was creating the classes,
Yeah,
that's the Kotlin classes, I did them right, but while typing, currently I can see each of your each of the what you have typed out. They have different colors, but mine I didn't get different colors for them. So
okay.
when
So the
that part that
colors,
the bubble came up, the
yeah,
part that the bubble came up and you clicked on to
yeah,
get this override on get item count, override on create view holder. I
yeah.
didn't get that because of I couldn't find the bubble because of how the words were on my screen.
Okay, so the coloring and the font and all that, they're all
Yes.
styling.
Okay.
Is the theme. So the
Okay.
theme of
Okay.
your ID is what determines what it looks like. You can add
All
fonts
right.
to Android Studio. You can play around with. So maybe you can Google how to add themes, but be careful. Don't go and break your Android Studio. I think someone already did. She broke
Okay.
her
And
Android
but
Studio and she's not able to do projects again.
oh, um, and the reason why I said this was because the bubble that came up, the one
Yeah.
you clicked on to get
So that bubble is not
these
a
other
customization.
ones that came out,
So this
and the bubble
that
was
bubble
meant to
is
come
here.
out.
See, when you click on a class name or a function name, by
Yes.
default, that bubble will show. Regardless of the
Okay.
color of your ID, it will come. But you need to click somewhere so it knows what to show you in the bubble.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I
Okay. I
think,
think I get that now.
yeah, so the next person I think was Disco B.
Okay.
Yeah, Disco B.
Hello.
Ibibo, you can go next. I think the person is not here.
All right. So I did my project right, like the way you did it. So I built my own adapter, and instead of listing the total amount of images I wanted to show on my recycler view,
Yeah.
I called a loop to loop through all of them.
Wow. That's you trying to do what Recyclerview would do by itself. You're now manually doing it.
Yes, because I was having plenty issues with.
Okay. So can you tell us one of the issues you had? Let's see whether we've passed it or we're still yet to get there. Then we'll know where to place it.
First of all, I think like going over and over again, I tried to write multiple classes for the image and text view, but it wasn't really coming out the way I wanted it. So I just did one that looked like what I wanted. Then use that class to look through the other pictures.
Okay, so maybe by the end of this class, if you see how we get to use it, maybe that will give you a better perspective of how to go back and fix your own.
Okay. Are we submitting by 12 this morning?
No, it's 11 p.m. tomorrow.
11 p.m.
Next
tomorrow.
tomorrow. Next tomorrow. But still
Okay.
today now. It's still today. So it's next tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah, so
But
we
today,
have a question down here.
today is 6th. Let's
From the get item returning this without adding any parameter to the class constructor, will it work? Yeah, the only way it can work is what I just showed you here. Now, if we didn't add this, then we need to have maybe a variable that is called items and tell it to be a list and the same sample data. And this now, we're telling it that, okay, let's initialize it to an array list that is empty. Now, this guy here is what you use to tell this one. Now, since we didn't pass a constructor parameter, that means somehow we need to be able to access this guy. Now, it's bad practice to be able to allow whoever is calling Recyclerview adapter to be able to access his methods. The better practice is to do this private, make it private, and then come here and declare a function that is called set items. Now that function will come with new items, and that will be a list too of sample items. What you want to do in essence is take the items, and reset them to new item. So this is the only way you will not pass a constructor parameter. Iketi, or is it Iketi? I don't know how to pronounce the name, sorry. Does this answer your question? Is he still here? Okay. I don't think he's here. So let's stick to the basics for now. Okay, you joined late. Ah, depends on how far back you want us to go. And I think we can't really go far back again. A lot of people are losing patience. Issues people have not been addressed at some point. So the last thing we want to do is tell it how to bind views. So to tell you how to bind views, when we call on bind view holder, we want to pass data into or bind data to the layout. So we'll just pass items. Now we'll see that we have something called position here. So this is saying this is the position on your view that I'm on, and this is where I need data for. And the positions are matched with your data. So position 0 on your recycler view will be the same as position 0 in your data set. Our data set is items. So this position, this is us trying to get the item, that sample data in this list of sample data at this position. Somebody is saying something. Okay, this you just distracted us to say never mind. You will have just used your mic. Did anybody get what I explained here?
Okay.
No, please come again.
So bind view holder is where you bind data to a view holder. Now we've created the view holder at this point, but the view holder just has our layout like this with no contents. We didn't set any text, we didn't set anything. That's what it has. Now it needs to get the data to put in the particular layout. That's the holder here. The holder here is just an instance of this class. So
Sorry, please. I just like to ask. This is the first time I'm using Zoom, so I'm not really familiar with this whole setting. I just like to know if it was for me to get this video from the beginning because I joined late. I didn't really get the whole, the start. It was me to get the whole video from beginning after the class.
we're not sure yet, but we'll get to know whether or not we'll get the videos after the class. That will be communicated.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we have an instance, but it doesn't have data. So we have to, this is where you bind your data to your view elements, where you set your name to your item name text view, your image to your item image view. So how to do that is you first have to get the sample data objects. Now, since we have a list of sample data objects, we need to get just one of them. And which one of them do you want to get? The one at the current position we're trying to bind. Now, you can get items from a list by passing an index. That index is what we're calling position here. So for someone like Ikechi, who is used to Java, he will have something called in heaven. You have something like get, and you still pass the same position. But the same thing, Kotlin will tell you, okay, I can give you an operator that does the same thing. So this is just us trying to get an item from a list of items. It's just like saying, I have 10 shirts in my wardrobe and I want to pick one of them. I need to know at what position that cloth is to pick it out. Else I can just randomly pick anyone and it might not be what I wanted. I need to be sure what position I'm picking it out from. So that's just what we're trying to do here. By using the position, the adapter is at current points, and we're using that to get our data set from our list of data sets. Now, once we have done this, we're done with the setup for the things needed by a Recyclerview. The next thing is inside the layout where we need a Recyclerview.
Yes, sorry to take you back. Does this mean that everything that we've been doing so far is just to set up the Recyclerview? We've not even started.
The Recyclerview is what we want to use, so we actually have started since.
Oh, well, like you made a comment just now. That's why I was wondering.
I said we're done with the setup for what we need around the Recyclerview. Now we need to now bring that Recyclerview to life in an activity or in a fragment or wherever we want to use it, and pass all these things that we have created to it.
Okay.
Do you understand now?
Okay. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, so we're here in our main activity. So in our main activity, did you give this guy an ID? No, we didn't. So we need to give it an ID. ID sample RV. RV is just short for Recyclerview. So here, using the same weight operator, we can call sample RV and we'll get the Recyclerview. And then, like I said, I explained something about a layout manager. So we'll pass the layout manager and we'll tell it we want it to be a linear layout manager. I'll pass context. Okay, scope.
Sorry, please, can you zoom in? I'm not really
Okay,
seeing.
okay. Is books or booksets or what's her name? Okay, yeah, you're still here. So I think we're getting to where your question is. You're not being able to reference your Recyclerview. Now, we have a Recyclerview here. The way you try to reference it is val, maybe shopping lists, lists, and you said find view by ID, and you called it a Recyclerview. No, I think what you did was this. Uh, And you did RID shopping list. So for us, that would be sample RV. And you said as recycler view. Now immediately, Kotlin will tell you there's a better way to do it. That's this other way. But even that is an overkill. I don't need to call all this to get a recycler view. I can just call the ID directly without putting r.id. And I've explained why. That's because of this thing I have highlighted, Kotlin 100 extensions. It allows you to be able to reference your views directly without calling find view by ID and all that. There are several other ways you can reference views, but for now, let's leave it at this. Now, the next thing is an adapter. Now, the adapter, we've created our adapter. So sample.
Please, that Kotlin extension plugin, did you add it yourself or it came with the?
When you create a new project and you use your language, your default language option as Kotlin, and your Android Studio is above 3.5, it comes by default.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sample view, recycler view adapter. Now, we said this requires a list, but we don't have a list. So we can come down here and create a private function. Set data. And this private function is supposed to return the list that we want. Sample data. So we'll just return list of. Now, when you see list of like this is a Kotlin function that allows us to just list out all the items we want to put in a list. If we're not doing this, the other way to do this is say val items equals, let's say, of type list, like this, sample data equals an array list to get us an initial something to play with. And from this, we now begin to do items dot. Can we do this? No. So there are two of them. You notice that the moment I added array to the front, the color changed. When it's green like this, it means it's an interface. If I come here, you see that this is an interface. So as an interface, when it's an interface like that, you can't directly reference, how do I call it now? Let me get back to the class. So all the functions it has here are things that when you want to create other types of lists, like we can see, I created an array list. Array list is not the only type of list that we have. Let's see whether we can digress a bit to see how many types of lists we have. Table collection, list, this. Yeah, so these are the possible options that use that. And you can see we have only 100 items showed currently. There are more than that. So we're not going into how many of them use list or implement list. So I think I shouldn't complicate things too much by adding this definition, because if I try to do that, all I'm saying is we'll begin to add one element after the other for the number of items we want. And that's kind of like daunting. I'm not sure we have that much fine. Doing this, it saves us the declaration of saying this val equals to this, then this is this, then this dot add, this dot add, this dot add, and we'll keep going. So we can say sample data. Now this requires a name. Let's say full name, address, Abdul, 0 for now, Lagos. And then lazily we'll just come here and highlight the whole thing and just paste it down. Paste and paste and paste and paste and paste one more, then remove this. Now we can see that I have a couple of items here. If I don't want them to all show the same thing, I can say maybe what other name can I use now? And then say say unknown KT unknown unknown unknown, and this is fine. Now I don't have any value for my image, so what can we do? Browser, Google,
Okay.
hmm? Just
Maybe there is a long time.
you said? Okay. Save image as no cancel. Yeah, save image as image underscore one. Image two. Image. Nobody should be offended though. Okay, so I have 4 images. Now, I need to come to, let me see if I can get this to be arranged as I want them to be. Desktop. Okay. So I want to come here. Like this. Go to my downloads and find it. So you can go to your folder like this, like I'm doing now, and copy all the images that you want to put in your project. Then come to your drawable right click and do paste. To show you options, always use this one. Now, if you use a drawable that has a qualifier, what you are doing is any device that doesn't match that range will not have those images. So unless you specifically want some images show on some versions and not show on others, put them in drawable. So I'll select drawable and click OK and say OK. Now I have my images here, 4 of them. So I can come here and just say dot drawable dot image one, dot drawable dot image two, and then dot drawable dot three image, then dot drawable dot four images. Now, what I wanted to show us with the naming convention that I used, we can only say that of all the naming conventions that I used, only one was accepted for drawables. So the accepted values for resource files is lowercase with underscore. Your file name cannot start with a number. So if I come to three image and rename it to, so you come to refactor and rename and image three. Then I come here and reference it the right way. We'll see that it accepts it. Now, the reason why it's rejecting image 2 is because I have uppercase values in it. It cannot have uppercase. So coming here to refactor, rename, and do image. Then come here to do that. That is resolved. So this is a case of starting with numbers and it has uppercase. Even if I remove the number, so far as there's an uppercase value, character there, it won't accept it. So factor and remove this. Come down here and say 4. Now, okay, so image 4. So I now pass this function here that we just created into the adapter. So since we're saying this should return list of sample data, when you pass it here, what this adapter will see is this type here. And if we run this, we're running for the first time. Wow, that's nice. Sorry, I will cancel that because we will not see it. I'm running on my device. Yeah, so let me run again. So it's now my Android Studio is going to embarrass me, but it's fine. Okay, are we cool? Yes. So we have our list. And we can see that it correctly places all the values in the right places. Okay. Do you have any issues for now? Because we'll go to the next step of now interacting with the recycler view. Any questions at this point? Hello?
Do you can go ahead, please.
Yeah, move ahead.
Okay, so at this point, this is not the only way to pass data. But for right now, we're working with offline data. That's why we're okay like this. This is fine. You can do this and we're fine with it. But like Robin said, designs will be checked. So what that means is you can't bring this and expect to get three.
Okay, I have a question. Sorry.
You won't get three if you submit this. Maybe two, yeah. Yeah, Victor, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I am relative to the array list, the generated list of, yeah.
That's
I
this
don't
one.
know. There is yes. I don't know. There's a way I actually went about mine that is
Okay.
somewhat interesting. I wanted to know if I'm a bit confused on how I'm going to
Do you have your
add
screen?
a bit more. Like,
Can you share your
I'm
screen?
actually using my phone.
Okay,
My
okay,
phone.
okay.
That's the thing.
Have you
So that's
submitted?
maybe I'll send you a screenshot. No, not yet, not yet.
Okay,
No, I
so
haven't
go ahead.
submitted yet.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. I actually use the for loop for my main activity, the KT, to be able uh to run the private function
That runs
to
through
generate
and
a,
adds random values. Or
yes,
what
like
was your
the
for loop doing?
okay, I use the private for generate dummy list.
Okay.
Then I now declare the size int in brackets. Then list example list open those sharp brackets.
Yeah.
Example item them open the curly bracket.
Yeah.
Then I now declare the val list equal to array list
Yeah.
example item bracket. Then for I is I in zero until size.
Yeah.
Then val drawable equals when I percentage 3.
Mhm.
Okay. Then I now declared
So
0 as our drawable. That's my
yeah.
drawable. Then 1 as my our drawable for the second drawable file.
Yeah.
Then else as third drawable file. Then
Yes.
then I after those three, then I now declared my first array list. That's I'm sorry, I don't know if it's an array list they call it. This stuff that I just finished doing now. The first one I declared was val item example item open bracket drawable comma
Yeah.
text one.
Okay.
Then
This
text
one
one, then
here.
I put the first text.
This is a
Yes,
model
something like that,
data.
yeah.
So
Okay,
it's a
yes, a model
model.
data, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll be sending a screenshot just to make it more clear. Then
I actually understand what you
um
did. You did a bit of mathematics to
yes,
use three
but I'm a bit
images
confused.
across. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but I'm maybe confused on, I don't know how to add, recycler view now. You definitely have different objects in it.
No,
So
it's a
what I
single
did
object
now,
type. The
yeah,
type
yeah,
of the
single
object
object
has
type
to
thing.
be the same.
Okay. My issue is trying to add different recycler views, like add like the content of the recycler view. I need them to change.
Change
That's
how?
what I actually did here. So, like this yours, the one you did here, you can just type in like as you wrote your name Abdul, then image, then Lagos for the first one.
Yeah.
Then you can also move to the second one and also write Chinedu image two, then Yaba. It's not like that for what I did. So I don't know if if there's a place that I'll actually go and tweak it because I only
So,
declared just one val item, example item.
okay, so when you ran it, did you get something like this?
When I ran it,
Yeah.
I had my yes, I
Your
did,
list, your
I got
data
something.
showed up.
Yes, they did show up. Yeah.
So you're fine. But like I said, design will be graded. So make it more beautiful.
Okay.
But stay within the
All
scope
right.
of what you have seen us teach you. We can't penalize you for
So,
things that you don't know yet.
so Abdul, if we have
All right.
submitted and we want to update our design, is it still accepted?
I think you submitted already, Abby.
Yes, but I want to update it. I'm learning some new things that I would like to tweak mine with.
If I upgraded your own, then maybe no.
Okay.
Maybe I have. I don't know.
You have?
So when did you submit? I've graded 3 people.
Yes, I've submitted I think it's been long. I think I submitted close to 4 or 5 days ago.
4 or 5 days ago. Your own has been graded already.
Yes, I know.
Who mind to share with the class what you got?
No. I would mind.
Okay. Please, can I see your other screen where you added the directory? Trisha, can you unmute yourself and ask the question? I'm not sure I get you.
Okay, I'm asking because I want to see the directory, like where you are including the images to display, because I was using the function I was using is list.add, and I included my image. For my data type for my image, I used a string. So I wanted to include a directory to get images.
Okay, so what we did is we picked our image from my downloads folder and placed them in drawable. So these
Okay.
are the images 1, 2, 3, 4. So after we place them here, you can now reference them by ID. And to reference an image, you call drawable because it's in the drawable directory.
Okay, so can I use this referencing like a string type for calling my image to display?
No, the only way you can do that is if you wanted to go and get the image from the internet, then you can use string references. But if it's not on
Okay, so
you have to tell it where to get it within your app.
okay, so if I want to declare the data type for the image, what is it going to be if it's not going to be a string anymore?
Okay, so let's go into sample data. So the type here for image is integer because your IDs, when you call any ID for your resource directory, what you get back is an integer. And how do you know that? When you come here, just do this dot and start typing. It tells you the data type. You can see it here. It's an integer.
Okay. Okay, so I can just include this in my list.add.
Yeah, list.add if you want to put an image and you have it in your drawable directory. I went over the acceptable naming format. You can't have capital letters in your file name. It cannot start with a number. and you cannot have hyphen. You can only have underscore.
Okay.
Yeah. Then when you
Thank you
want
very
to
much.
use it in your view holder class, you call
Okay.
set image resource if you are passing the ID.
Okay.
So that clears your concern.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's still one person that I'm expecting to tell us whether her problem was solved or not. This Kobe, you can unmute and talk.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, like I said earlier, I kind of came late due to that power issue. But if I want to research on a class similar to this one, what like will I exactly search for? Like, what's the, let's say, topic of this particular class so I can
So
use?
on a class like yourself, you want to find how to do this yourself.
Yes, because I don't know if I can make, I don't know if the video will be available, and I'd
Okay,
like
so
to
let's
start.
go back to Google and we'll ask Google, we're back to all. We'll see Recyclerview Kotlin example, and we'll say enter. Now, this one option, this another one, this another one, but you want to see a video. So tell Google you're looking for videos. Uh, Internet is bad. Yeah, so Kotlin Recyclerview example, building a Recyclerview, Kotlin beginner example, simple Recyclerview with Android X. So there are several options.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So, Amarachi, do you want to say something?
Yes, so
Okay.
I just wanted to know. I hope this gets better with time.
Yes, you get
Because
better at researching and handling code heartbreaks. Yes.
because all of this setting up sample data, sample all of this, it's quite overwhelming for beginners.
Yes, you get to a point where you'll be spinning up recycler views like it's nothing. They won't mean anything again because you just know what you need and what you need to call, what needs to happen, who goes where, what goes where, and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
there was this whole thing. Okay, like Amarashi said, is a bit voluminous to sink in for a newbie. And I think my challenge, I don't know if I'll be able to meet up with the deadline because there are a lot of things I'm still trying to understand. Since this is
So
all very new to
I
me, I
think
don't know
I
anything.
think I need to address your own concern. Your way of learning and programming, they don't completely mix. So programming, the
Okay.
fastest way to learn programming is write rubbish code and keep writing until you get to a point where it begins to make sense. I'm not saying just pick up what you don't know and just start writing. Google, ask questions. They will be very stupid questions at start. I asked a lot of very bad questions when I was starting. It's fine. But the thing is, the more you ask questions, the clearer things get for you. But smart questions are easier to answer. Now, what do I mean by smart question? I said it in the class. Every developer is mostly busy trying to fix a bug or trying to solve a problem or have something chasing him or him chasing something. So it's easier to walk up to a developer. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I've done, but it's not working. I've even checked here and checked here. I'm not finding something. What you are doing is helping the person know how best to help you. When you come to me and you say, this Recyclerview thing, I don't even know how to use it. Now, my mindset is, what exactly about Recyclerview is going to do? What exactly have you done? Now, if you don't give me any of this, just direct it to Google. Go and stumble on whatever you can find. Now, you might have a single thing that you're looking for on Recyclerviews. Now, if you have tried it and failed, you'll be able to tell me that I've tried this. Even if you've not tried much, the fact that you've done something makes it easier for me to assist you. Because at that point, I know that you know something and you want something added. Not like it's looking to me that you don't even know anything about it. So that means all I will be doing is creating a base and then getting to add on it and add on it and add on it. And we'll know at what point you have gotten enough. And that's scary for any developer. We kind of don't have that time. That's the actual truth. And as you guys have seen from your first two tasks, time is something that becomes very costly to just waste when you have tasks to deliver.
Like what I explained to you earlier, what I'm trying to achieve is to be in a situation where I can understand what is expected of me, and once I get to that point,
that's what I'm saying. So with programming,
there's so many questions I'm not able to ask. Then besides that, sorry, I'm coming. Besides that, the pressure of being able to keep up with the deadline of tasks at all is another pressure that I don't know how to deal with. Because with every assignment that one is not able to do, you are losing points.
Yes.
And because we don't want to lose points, I'm under pressure because I don't know the ABC of it. And I'm not asked to now do the
So should I tell you when I started
time.
learning the ABCs of programming?
Go ahead.
So I started learning the ABCs of programming after I've gotten my second job as a programmer. So the basic thing is you write a lot of code. It will do what you want, but it might not be optimal. It might not be the best way to achieve what you try doing. There might be better ways to do it. But you know how to write code. How did you learn how to write code? Just picking up pieces from here and there. I want to put text on a screen. Go to Google, how to put text on a screen, Android. Check what this person did, Maybe you read one or two lines of what they did. I don't even have the time. Just copy what he wrote there, put it, change the text. Does it show what I want? Yes. I'm moving on to the next thing. But with time, you begin to learn better what to copy and what not to copy. Why? Because you are understanding better what you've been copying along the line. Now, if you're able to code, then you can now pick up a book and begin to read. Oh, wow. So this is why I'm doing this thing I used to do. Oh, okay, this is the point of doing this. Oh, this is the point of doing this. Because when you don't know it and you pick up books and keep going inside your books, there are several book smart developers that when you give them projects, they don't know what to do, but they know the theory, they know it in the book. Or you put it down, this is an idea. They don't even know how to use an idea. But they can sit down with you from morning till night and talk code.
Okay.
So the act of learning programming is in the doing of it. That's why we are putting tasks at every point. The more you do, the more it will stick.
Okay. I'll try.
Yeah, so Ajibola.
Abdul.
Yeah.
Please, after this class, is it possible for you to upload this code on Git for us?
Yeah, I'll upload the code.
All right.
The code is already up. I'll just add this to a new branch, but the code is already up. I'll share the branch name. And I shared this link already on the class channel. So maybe find the repo. I shared it already. I think was that yesterday or
Really?
yeah, the day we held the last class. I shared this rep already.
I think okay. Don't worry. After the class, I will confirm, please.
Okay. Udo, do you want to say
Boss,
something? Yeah.
boss, I have a little issue with this as well.
Okay.
What you're doing here right now, I did almost exactly this
Okay.
from a video I saw on YouTube. But the truth is, most of the things I did, like 70% of the things I did, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Okay. So
Out of what I could only understand like 30% of what I was doing. The rest, I wasn't getting it.
so the
And
fun thing is, let's look at
now,
it this way. Before you continue, the first time you
okay.
did it, you understood 30%. 70% was alien to you. Now the next time you go, your mind will not even go to the 30% you understand. And believe me, that next time you understand another maybe 10%, 15%. Now, the next time you do it, you have a better understanding. Do you see why tasks are a better way to get used to things? Because every time you go back to it, every time you try to do something, you understand it better than the last time you did it.
Okay.
So I'm happy you said you had 30% understanding. There is 70 that you don't know. It's fine. At start, it's very fine. 30% is even impressive. There are people that didn't even get 10%.
Then another thing is, for me,
Yeah.
I'm running the three languages for Android development, Kotlin, Java. Now, I'm having serious issues because of that. having to cope with the three of them, the tags. After working on this Kotlin tags,
Yeah.
I don't really have the time to go back and try to work on it again so I can get better. I jumped to another tag. So I was asking, I wanted to find out if there's a way I can drop some of those and probably focus on two.
So the drop-in, you had that window for I think for the first 1 month or the first like 3 weeks of the program. I can't remember how many they gave for how many weeks they gave for everybody to decide where you want to be or where you don't want to be. So now after that, I'm not sure when they are going to open the window again. But the truth is, as a total beginner, you cannot learn two languages at the same time. It will not work. Especially when you are learning things that relate to mobile. Kotlin is a bit different from Java. But if you knew Java before, Kotlin will make some sense to you. Now, if you knew Kotlin before and you want to learn Java, I won't say it will make sense to you. It's not compatible that way. Like you can't really use much of what you know here and adapt it here. It's different. If you go to Flutter, you're doing that. That is different again. At that point, what you are doing to yourself is you are effectively confusing yourself because you don't understand any of the three and you want to learn the three at the same time.
Okay.
It will be very, very difficult to cope. And I know a lot of the mentors know this, but the free will is just there. Decide what you want to learn. If anybody can cope with all of them, fine. But we know at some point, a lot of people will struggle because it's still easier now. We're not trying to make you guys advanced people or crazy good programmers at the end of this, but at least you should be able to say something about whatever aspect you decide to develop yourself on. So, Ajibola, can we have
sorry,
you?
sir. One more thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay, this is Ajibola here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Based on my question is still the same like what other people have been saying. Okay. Now I like want to know the structure. Like I've not seen like this is what we're going to learn on. This is the task we expect. I want to like know if we can have like a guideline on that, so we know what to expect. Because I'm also running. Someone mentioned is doing Kotlin and is doing Java and Flutter too. I'm also in that shoe.
Oh wow.
And now I still want to perfect in one, but I'm just trying to see how the other ones are.
Okay. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Okay, so you're asking if we can give some form of like a curriculum, then you get to have an idea of what task you face going up. I think Robin is supposed to have shared that, but I will get to ask how far we are with sharing that resource. So we as a class know, okay, we've done this, we're moving on to this next, we're moving on to this next. Okay, at the end of this program, this is what we're going to build as a project. So that will be itemized. But I will get back to you, I'll get to him and see why we don't have it yet and get back to the class. Oluwafemi, Oluwafemi, did you run away? I think you did.
Hello?
Yeah, you're raising your
Hello?
hand.
Okay. So I was just thinking out. I was just thinking, does the individual size of the images, does it add up to the size of the app? I
Yeah.
mean, as the app, the project.
Yes.
So the more images, then the bigger the app.
Yeah. We'll get to how you can optimize that.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
So each size of this image, if you, okay, let me try to do something. Don't worry, don't try to replicate or worry yourself about how we got to achieve it or what we did.
Okay.
Come in. Let me see if I can find it. No. Mm. Okay. So we can see the file size 3.7. Let
Okay.
me see what my resources are drawable. Now, these file sizes are very, very okay. Why? Because we just picked the thumbnails on Google. We don't really open the image to get the actual size of the image. But imagine where you gather two MB images and add. So 2 times 4, 8. Already you're adding 8 MB to your file.
Oh, okay. But there will be a way to like.
Yeah, there are ways to optimize it. We'll get into that.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Vector, you can share it now. Vector, we're waiting for you to share your screen.
Okay, I don't know if you can see it yet.
No, we can't see it yet.
Okay.
I'm not seeing your screen anymore.
Yes, all right. Can you see now?
Yeah, Vector is trying to share his screen. That's why I stopped mine. But it's coming up.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, can you see now? Okay, can you see now?
No.
No,
Yes.
everywhere.
You can
Okay,
see
okay,
it.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. This is the
Yeah, I can see it.
this this is the for loop area activity. So I was asking based on this the val item example, this particular place where my cursor is on currently, relative to what you did. I don't know. I was thinking one can just
Okay,
copy and
so
paste.
what we are saying here is this is nice, but we told you that we want a shopping list. So when I run your app, I should actually see a shopping list that looks like a shopping list. I'm not saying it should be super beautiful or wowing, but at least it should be a shopping list. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So do you mind sharing with us where you found this method?
Okay, it was actually online also a YouTube video. Also, I was trying to
You
follow up
have an
what they were
error
doing.
here. Your when, your zero,
Uh,
you shouldn't have a comma there.
okay, okay,
Zero.
yes. I think here
Yeah.
and here. This was where this was where I was asking the question. Like I don't know how to put other values on the recycler view. Like
So your for loop,
yeah,
whatever size you put into this dummy, that's the number of items it will add to this list.
yeah,
Yeah, so if you add four, it generates four items. And
right, and
you see your first variable item 0, line 2,
it's
your second variable item 1, line 2, your third item 3, line 2, your fourth image. So that's basically what it is. You will see it will create, it will try to look, but this line, to keep adding this line with the new values that is getting from your for loop into your list.
okay. Okay. Now, my question was that I intended that when I ran it on my phone, I only kept on seeing and this as the text. So I don't know where I can actually tweak them, then put
So what you are
the
saying is
necessary.
you're
Yeah.
looking for a smart way to play around with the views. So I'm not sure if we have Kabira on this call. I'm not sure she joined. She will have shed a bit more light on how you can achieve that. But you can unshare your screen.
All right. Right.
So I'll share mine back and take us to an article that will tell you a bit about how you can do that. So if I go back to this, I think I saw something. This item here, API key. No, this is too advanced. Back to safety, please. Okay, background noise. Let's see how we can take that out. Let's do the last thing, then we'll come back to this interactive session. Books is, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So you've seen how we did the main activity and how we got our recycler view to show. Did you get to see what your own mistake is or what the issue is in your code? Or you still can't figure it out?
I still can't figure it out.
Okay, so we'll come back to it, and I think the class will help out. Maybe.
I think the way I did mine is entirely different. I've compared it and I'm not seeing any similarity.
Okay, so that means maybe you're not on the right track. Just maybe.
Maybe.
So the next step is interaction.
Wait, sorry. Can you run your app?
Yes, we did. This is it here.
Is this the first page?
Yes,
So you just open it and it comes here immediately.
yes.
What about the first fragment, the second fragment?
I said we're not using fragments to make it easy for everyone. So we avoid issues where
Oh
this
my
wasn't
God,
working well, this cannot
that,
work well.
that is
So
what has
just
been
go
giving
for
me
empty, just go for
problem.
empty activity.
All
Don't
right, so
use,
that's how it should be.
yeah, don't use basic.
Awesome. Okay, thanks.
So interaction. So there are a few levels to interaction. First is on the layout itself. So since we want to add, cancel. Since we want users to be able to interact with the view, at least if I click on this item, I should see some form of reaction. I don't know if you understand me, like it knows that I clicked on it. So we can achieve that in the layout file by adding a background. So for the background, just put question mark. The first item is selectable item background. Then we'll rerun. It might work, it might not work, I'm not sure yet. Let's just see it. Yeah, we have it here. It's not showing up. Okay. Next thing we want to add is tell it that the view can be clicked and the view can be focused. It doesn't work now. I'll just pack my load and go in. There's no point. Okay, so Recyclerview. So we can see that I know when I click on my view. When I click on any of them, you can actually see it flow around. So that's the first level of interaction. Now the next thing is we don't want to just see when a user has clicked on the view. We want to be able to do something when the user clicks on the view. That's where interface callbacks come in. Okay, zoom into the code. Sorry. Was it here? No. So these are the 3 lines I added. So background, make it, yeah.
Okay. The focusable, what's the feature? What does it do to the?
So focusable is this. It's you get to see it more when we start dealing with text fields where you can input values. Now, when a view is focusable, that means the program in itself can give focus to it. So when you focus a text view or a text input field, your keyboard comes out.
Okay.
And you can do things like when you click on next on your keyboard, it moves to the next view. That's because the view can be focused.
Okay.
But if the view cannot be focused, you can't do that. It won't go to that particular view. You just stay where it is because that view cannot be focused. That view has said you can't focus on me.
Okay.
And when you add clickable, you have to add focusable. So I can add clickable true and focusable false. That means you can click but you can't focus. So it depends on what you want to achieve. You can play around with it however you want it. So I was saying interface. Now we can come to the adapter class and say interface sample interaction. And just do this. This works. Or we can do, we don't want this. No. We can do this and come here and say new Kotlin class, sample interaction listening, and make it an interface. Then we'll have this. What do we want to listen for when the user clicks? Now, since we want to use the data, we expect it to give us the item that was clicked. Okay, so we're done with this interface. But how does the adapter know about the interface? That means you have to give it the interface by passing it here. This is just me naming it like this. I can come back here and tell it that no, since we say it's callbacks, and say callback, and call this callback. Sample. So I forgot to add something here. Yeah. To make this look clean, you can drop them down. Your choice. So once I have that, I can come here and use another Kotlin feature and say apply. But like we saw in the last class, okay, we're fine here. So on the view holder class, I want to call item view, and I want to set click listener to it. And when I call the, when it senses that it's being clicked on, it should call callback and do on click. Then I want to pass in item. So if I want to pass in item, I need to call items dot position. But since we're saying we should not repeat ourselves, what I will do is come here and say val item equals items position, and then take this one out. Take this one out. You might not really appreciate the idea of not repeating yourself now because you're not doing much. But if you get into a larger code base, the only thing that will come to your mind is, how can I reduce the number of things I'm going to type? And now repeating yourself helps you prevent a lot of bugs. Now, so this will get called every time we do this. So as we're clicking, this will be triggered. Now to see that it's being triggered, we have to come back to main activity. Now the thing with interfaces is they allow you implement what you want to happen when that function is called. If we check here, nothing, we didn't tell the class or the interface what to do with this function. We didn't put the body or how it should behave when it's called, like we have here. We call set data and we told it what to do whenever it's being called. But on click doesn't know what it's supposed to do whenever it's being called. So to tell you what to do every time it's being called, we need to implement the sample data here. And once we do that, we'll have this red line again. Michael, you can see that as I'm clicking, that bubble shows up. And I can click on what I want to do with it. Now the function is here. Then I can tell you whatever I want it to do. The next thing is we told the constructor to expect one more parameter. We need to pass it here by just calling this admin activity. So passing this admin activity will pass this interface into the adapter. Now, so here, what do we want to do? Let's just do make text this item dot string. So this length is the duration of how long you want it to display on the screen. Short means it stays for a shorter time. Let's see how many seconds is short. I can't find it. There's supposed to be an enum that describes.
Hello, Abdul.
Yeah.
For my own case, I didn't use an interface, but I used a new intent, like to another activity.
So I think it was after I graded your own and the next person that I came to shout, don't use your adapter to move to another activity. Use an interface.
But that means we didn't get the right information after we submitted. So.
Oh, you want a review? Don't worry.
Yes, now. It's only since then now.
Your design determines, because even with the review, your score might still stay the same if your design doesn't make any sense. Okay, so for now, let's see what we will get whenever we click on every item. So we can all see that our view is updating. We are not able to interact. Now, you've gotten the data back to a class here. You can decide how you want to use the data. It's your choice, actually. You can decide how you want to use the data. But we said we want our data to be able to take us to another activity. Now, for the data to be able to be, for us to be able to pass the data around, we need to alter the class itself by either doing this. Now, the idea behind this is if you want to put a custom object into an intent, you need to make it into something like a string or byte. It won't take it as the object. So serializable will serialize it into a string. You have another option you can use, but that will require you add a single line here. I think is Android experimental, I mean, and you set it to true. I don't know. Let me go and steal it from another code if I can find it. No, I don't have it here. Okay. Okay, 100 extensions. So it was not correct. Now, if I rebuild this or resync this, I'll get some very cool features I can try out. And only one is interesting to us currently. That is this. And then so you can either pass your value like this or do the serializable. The difference is how you get it back. Can't find it again. So those are the two options. So let's use this and see if we were to use it, how would we go about it? Now back to main activity. Let's still keep this toast around. And now do val intent equals intent. This is our next activity for now. Okay. Review recycle activity. I'm doing this to encourage usage. Now, when I call this apply, I get this intent object. What do I want to pass in my intent? I want to put a serializable. Serializable, how can you pass it? If you check, you can see the options. Okay, put extra, just takes a serializable. And then see my data and pass item. So this is fine. And now see start activity and put my intent. Do I want to keep main activity around? Yes, so that somebody can use back and come back here. So in my class here, how do I get my values? I'll put something here. It's init var item sample data. And I'll come here. I'll say item equals intent dot get serializable extra, the name I used to put it inside, and then as sample data. And when fab is clicked, do item.
Sorry, Abdullah, when did we create this review recycler activity class?
I didn't create it now. It's been here. And I think that will come back to haunt myself. The fact that I didn't want to create a new activity. Yes, I knew it was going to haunt me. So let me not use shortcut again. I cannot cope with issues that might arise from this. So let's create our second activity. New, and you come down here to where you find activity. I want an empty activity. Can I find one? Okay, empty. Second, okay, it's so this is even cleaner.
Okay.
Now, I think I explained what late init is. Late init is saying, I'm not putting in a value right now, but I'll give you a value later. Sample data. That's the only way you can declare a variable in Kotlin and not put a value immediately. So we're saying item equals intent that gets realizable extra data. Sample data. Post. Valid text. This. Return back to string. So
sorry, please, Abdul.
Yeah.
The double colon after second activity. What does that mean in Kotlin?
Okay, so we're trying to reference. It is used in several places. When you want to use it in context of, say, there's this thing they call smart calling of functions. You can use dot dot function name and not pass the parameters. Kotlin will find the parameters and put them inside. What we're trying to get is the Java equivalent of second activity here. So to access that, we need this double colon. For a late init variable, you can use it to get whether the variable has been initialized, whether there's a value in it or not. It depends on the context of where you're trying to use the double colon. So if you do this, you can go back. And from here, you know how to do whatever you want to do with your value in the second activity. However you want to display it in your second activity, just go ahead. This class was too long. I think we should end it at this point, and if we need more clarity, we might do a shorter class tomorrow.
But before you go, Abdul.
Yeah.
We the code, please. Because
yeah,
I think following on video is fine, but I think myself, I need to look after the code one by one. Only then can I understand very well.
Okay. Like I said, the code has been shared. Update
The last time
and share the link.
What I downloaded, I don't think I had that from what I downloaded. You posted 2 code now, 2.
Yeah, so the review app, this is the review app.
sorry, please. How are you doing this?
Hmm?
Sorry, how are you doing this?
So let me cancel. Once you're within a Git project, if your project has Git enabled, that means you've pushed it to GitHub before and all that. And you're able to see this thing down here where you have Git master, and you're able to see Git options. They won't look like this on your side. I'm very sure these two will not look like this. It will be a green check mark and a blue inward pointing arrow. But you see Git and then these four options. Once you're able to do that, you can just from here, I don't want to commit these ones. You can just from here commit, and you can from VCS here, go and find push, and you'll be able to push. So I don't want to use a branch that exists. I want to create a new branch. It will list out all the branches you have in your remote. That's on your repo. And you can create new ones by just putting a name that is not already in the list it has. It will create a new branch for you. This is telling me that it's going to create a new one.
Recycler, they see.
You said?
You missed a C in your recycler, so it will be easier for you to name.
Oh, wow, it's gone already.
Alright. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry. What's the difference between toast and snack bar? I saw you deleted snack bar and used toast instead.
Okay, toast is something that flashes on your screen. When the added recyclers, snack bars pop up from the bottom of your screen or from the top, and you can customize it more. You can add things like actions to it. Actions means it won't clear, it will stay until the user interacts with it.
Oh, okay.
So you can make it something that even triggers a request to do something else. You can even move to a different activity from within interaction with the snack bar.
Oh, okay.
Because if you come here, you can see you have an action and you didn't put anything. So the action is doing nothing, but you can replace this with your own and put a listener that you want. Okay. Any other question?
Link, please.
Okay. I'll share the link. Can we close?
Yes, so we can close.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
attending.
Thank
You
you
don't
very
have a
much.
wife now. I would have greeted your wife for you.
So
Thank you, boss.
if a few people can stay on, we promise to help Books solve our problem, and we are not doing that.
Oh.
So Books, share your screen, please.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I beg to leave, or my UPS is going to shut down any moment
Yeah, no
from
problem.
now.
You can just leave. Others can
Okay.
help.
So, but the code on GitHub, please don't fail to
You'll get
post,
it.
please.
You'll get it.
Thank you.
I'll try to see how we'll make the video too available.
Thank you.
Books, where are you?
Like,
Share your screen and the issue again.
oh, I'm even restarting already.
Restarting.
I'm starting all over again. Let me share my screen because I tried to do it alone at first.
Okay.
Like, let me show you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
All right. So I did this alone at first.
Okay.
but I mean it worked. The same code I used, it worked. But when I wanted to now use the two fragments thing, it was giving me issues. That's when I complained. That's when I told you. Did you get?
Can you run it again?
Run what? Is it the first one or the second one?
The first one you did.
Oh, that one was just like a dummy version. It's not really this.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I don't know. It's not scrolling. No, I don't know. Did you
Yeah.
add anything to scroll it, or
Nope.
it scrolls naturally?
Yes, it should.
Maybe it's because it's not enough to scroll.
If that's the end of the list, it won't scroll.
Yeah, maybe that's why. I think that's the end anyway.
Okay. So
So since
can you open the
you said,
project that you're having the issue? We want to try something called debugging. Or this is the project,
oh,
you just cleared it and you went back to start.
yeah, I've actually cancelled it. I don't know. Let me see if I can
So
open
problem
it.
solved. If you've cancelled it, we're fine.
See, also.
So have you cancelled it? Hello? Hello?
Network.
Okay. I'm sure every other person can check the videos and maybe the code base and be able to handle themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll be fine with it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think the codes will help.
Okay.
I kind of get the gist better now.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. So I'll be ending the meeting now.
All right,
Thank you
thank you
guys.
very much.
Hey, boss.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Good night.
Thank you, boss.
Yeah.